This is the OTP. I'm Amie Wells. Thank you so much for joining us here in our studio at the Tennessee Titans facility, which is now the Vanderbilt Health Football Center. And I'm getting used to it. And I'm going to say it right. I promise I will, because we're very excited to be partnered with Vanderbilt Health. I just struggle with the names, guys. But I call all of that out because there is some newness in our little studio here. Our new home got a fresh coat of paint. It looks a little bit different. And to celebrate the occasion, Rhett Bryan is here. Jim Wyatt is here. Guys, there's a lot to talk about in Titans Nation, and I'm excited to have you here for the unveiling of our little redecoration project. What do you think?
It looks great and is very much streamlined with everything that the team rolled out in the last few days, which has been, by all accounts, well received and well liked, and it seemed like everybody really did their homework and crushed it.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm really representing the brand today because I'm wearing my Vanderbilt hat, representing the new building name, and I'm wearing my new Titans sweatshirt that was pieced together right before we started here.
There it is, Jim Wyatt.
We're all still catching up to the new year. I'm looking over in the monitor to see how just on brand Jim Wyatt looks, and it really is nice.
Well, I usually don't wear this hat, so I thought I'd break it out on a special occasion since the building has changed.
Right.
But Vanderbilt Health Football Center, a little easier to say. It's just a different new name, a new partnership, and we'll be saying it really, really easy very, very shortly.
By the time we get to training camp, I'll be locked in. I'm sure I will be. But the Titans have put a lot of effort and intentionality and thought not only to the new logo, the new uniforms, the whole new brand identity, but also in the way that all of this was rolled out. Now, we haven't had a conversation, all of us here on the OTP, since the big event that was the Titans brand unveil. First reactions to seeing the new uniforms from both of you guys, likes, first thoughts, all of that stuff. Jim, what were your initial reactions?
Well, I like it. I mean, I get, believe me, I'm not going to tell anybody else how to feel because I know the people in Houston love it because of it reminds them of the past with the colors and the uniforms. Some people in Nashville that grew fond of the Fireball logo and the colors there, they're having a tougher time accepting it. But I think it's a good look, and I think when the team wore the throwback Oilers uniforms, they were very popular. With the players, they're very popular with the fan base. It's going to take some getting used to. Just like, again, referring to my Vandy Star V logo. Vandy's changed this logo a couple years ago, went away from the Star V and to a new logo, and I didn't like it, and I still prefer the Star V. But when you start winning games and you start building some excitement, things start to look a little bit better. And so the people that are still kind of wanting to hold on to the recent past and the old look, if the Titans can win more than 3-4 games and start being a contender again, this is going to look even better to them. But personally, I think it pops. I like the new logo. I like the colors. I thought the event was great, and the majority of the people that I talk to, and I deal with people on Twitter, I deal with them in the mailbag, I see them on the streets, I saw them at the event. I would say the majority of them, 2 thumbs up. Mm-hmm. Not everybody, but even as more time has gone, people have said, man, that's really growing on me. It looks great.
I would echo your sentiments by saying you're right. People usually don't like change, especially the older that you get. You're a little more abrasive when it comes to change. And for a couple of generations of fans, that logo was all they knew. Mm-hmm. And so that's a part of it. I think Jim is 100% right, though. If you can win ball games, the rest is going to take care of itself, and you will embrace things it's just fall that 99% of problems get erased by winning. Yeah. I thought the event, the Titans put on a show. They put on a rock concert, basically. A 50-piece orchestra. Kyle Brandt from NFL Network comes in and gets everybody fired up, and all the alums that were there, and TZ interviewing everybody in the backstage because that was cool, who was hanging out back there. And then just to see Cam Ward and see Jeffrey Simmons come out in those uniforms, and I'm like, because for anybody that said, oh, this is a leak, this looks terrible, whatever, I'm like, whoa, let's reserve judgment till I see number 1 and number 98 put it on. And then I saw it, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that works. I love the logo. One of the main things about the logo that I love, even it's sans the fireball flames, you have to have the 3 stars of Tennessee for West, Middle, and East Tennessee, just like the state flag. And I think that's perfect. I think it's a clean look to it. And listen, for those of us who knew Mr. A, Mr. Bud Adams, he loved that light Titan blue color as good as he loved his next breath in his body and the blood in his veins. And it was no surprise to see that come into this emanation of uniform. I think one of my favorite things, two of my favorite things about it, the Tennessee that is at the bottom of the helmet, and then the 6-string logo stripe that's like a 6-string guitar down the stripe down the middle of the helmet. I really like those attributes to that. It is, I think, a good marriage of past, present, and future. And I think a whole lot of thought went into how all that works. But I thought it was well done by the organization, and I'm just ready to, like Jim, to see these guys go get some W's in this new uniform.
That's a good looking pullover, by the way. Do they sell those in the team store?
You know what? I'm glad you asked me that. They do not have this in the team store yet. This is like an exclusive thing here. But let me say this. I did go to the team store.
He was on TV. He was on TV at the team store.
I did not plan on being on TV. Channel 4 was there. I went that next morning. So that was Thursday night. That Friday morning, I went to the team store, and that place was hopping.
It was bumping, right?
It was. They had a DJ playing music. They had the old logo stuff corned off, and it was deep discount in there. I found a deal in there. I bought some new logo stuff. But Javon Curse was there at a 2-hour window of signing autographs, and that line consistently stayed queued out the door for the time that I was there, and that was better part of an hour. T-Rack, the cheerleaders, people buying jerseys, people buying hats, and lots of enthusiasm. I haven't seen that much enthusiasm in that team store in quite some time, and I hope that that's a sign of things to come.
You know, the enthusiasm is what always gets me, because this is another situation. We've talked about this at different points when the Titans have had major events just throughout history. There were so many people who were so fired up about what was going on, what this football team was doing. I don't think there was a football in the joint. Like, there was no game happening. There were not points being scored. There were no plays being executed. There was no game happening. And yet the excitement around this team and what it can be and what it has been was just so electric. You mentioned all the alumni that were there. It was really cool to see all the different eras of Titans football represented, from Eddie George and Javon Curse through Jarrell Casey and Brian Arakpo and Michael Griffin, Jason McCourty. And then you had the Jeffrey Simmons, who kind of bridges that gap between the former teams and the current team. And then so many current players were there. And after Cam Ward and Jeffrey Simmons walked out in the uniforms, and then all of your Titans dreams kind of came out behind them wearing the merchandise. Keith Bullock was there, like just throwing things out into the crowd, really getting people excited. It was such a cool full circle moment that really embodied, we recognize where this team has been. We care about the history of this team, and we are all walking together into the future. It just felt like such a cool moment. And I love that Titans fans are rallying around that, and they feel the same excitement that we feel here in this building.
Yeah, and I think it's a culmination of a lot of other things, too. Like, this has been an off-season of change, obviously, with a new head coach and Robert Sala and a staff that has a lot of experience and gives fans reason to believe. You know, Titans headed into the off-season with the most salary cap space in the NFL so far, signed 17 players in free agency, traded for 2 more. You've got a draft coming up where you've got the 4th overall pick. chance to help yourself there. And then you got a new stadium that is going up that's going to be pretty much done this time next year. So there's a lot to feel good about. For the first time in a couple of years, I feel like there's a lot of optimism and reason for people to be optimistic. But again, it all comes back to winning football games. And I do think that's going to happen. Great that you've got a uniform reveal party that gets people excited. Great, you got a new logo and you got new faces and a new building. But this is a football team, and that's why we're here, because the Tennessee Titans are in Nashville to entertain on the football field, and got to get back to winning games, and that's got to start happening in the fall. And I do think what Mike Barganzi's done, from building the roster to bringing in a really good coaching staff, is going to start to make that happen.
Now, if people want to know more about this brand, why we did the things that we did, want to see some of the events from that night, there's so many cool videos and different things that have been put together. So please head over to the Titans YouTube page. There's so much content there, whether it's behind the scenes of the actual night, an interview with Titans CEO and President Burke Nihill about this uniform specifically and why it looks the way that it does. All kinds of content. If you haven't seen this brand yet, that's the place to really just get in on it. Also, TennesseeTitans.com. There's a whole page just about this brand and why this new identity is the Tennessee Titans. So go check it out.
The YouTube video, Next Titans Up, with the family. Now, if you love the Titans, it got a little dusty when you were watching that.
I wept.
Yeah, because that was well done. Very well done. I think it speaks to a lot of Titans fans throughout the generations here in 2.5 decades plus. Well done there. YouTube, TennesseeTitans.com. Jim has done a great job outlining what we're going to continue to talk about in this episode with the free agents. By the way, shout out to Taylor Zarzer, and talked to a bunch of the free agent additions. Really nice interviews there. You can get a better feel for how these guys are wired and the kind of Titan that Mike Borgonzi and crew are looking for, and Robert Saleh and his coaching staff are looking for. And Jim's right. Between the new building, a very active free agency, one of the most active free agencies in Titans history, I would say, because looking towards this offseason, I think I counted 26 free agents, and when you count what they signed in free agency, traded for, and re-signed of their own, you're at nearly that number. And with a lot more to come with draft on the horizon in a month. So here we go.
Titans fans, SeatGeek is the official primary ticketing partner of Tighten Up, and here to help you experience all the action this season. SeatGeek makes it easy to find the perfect seats to the perfect game, so you can be part of all the touchdown celebrations and momentum-shifting takeaways this season. Whether you're getting tickets to Titans games or to any live event in Nashville, SeatGeek is the place to do it. SeatGeek is the official primary ticketing partner of the Tennessee Titans.
Home is at the forefront of all we do. It's why we're so committed to caring for the places and spaces in which we work and live. Ashley, the official furniture provider of the Tennessee Titans. Genesis is the first and only official jeweler of the Titans, having earned that title since 2006. Titans players, coaches, and fans trust Genesis for the absolute best in selection, quality, customer service, and of course, value. For diamonds, engagement rings, designer fashion jewelry, and the largest selection of luxury pre-owned Rolexes in Tennessee, Genesis is the hands-down winner. Genesis Diamonds in Green Hills and Cool Springs, the official jeweler of the Tennessee Titans.
Let's talk about free agency a little bit then. Jim, you had the opportunity to talk with all of the guys that the Titans signed, 18 total, including like trades and everything. What I'm interested to hear from you is if you noticed any commonalities or similarities between all of these guys that were added to this Titans roster.
Well, I think there's some similarities and ties to the coaching staff, the front office, and a lot of them. And I don't know if I can look at this group and say they all have one thing in common, but when you look at, a lot of these guys, a lot of them played for Robert Saleh. in the past. A lot of them, some of them spent time with Mike Berganzi in the past. Some of them were with Brian Dayball. I mean, they're here for a reason, and part of it's because the staff and front office believes that they're going to help this football team on the field, but also in the locker room and good culture building type players. Some of them are being brought here to start. Some of them are being brought here to be a backup, and some of them are brought here to compete and make this competition better in training camp. I did think it was interesting, like, John Franklin Myers, for instance, his fiance's family bought a house in Charlotte, Tennessee, which is just north of Dixon. He had ties to here and was wanting to come to Nashville, just fell into place. Cordell Flott, his wife worked in insurance in Nashville a couple of summers ago, and he trained some in the city. He was familiar with Nashville. Wandale Robinson from Frankfort, Kentucky, just up the road, a place he was always eyeing and interested in coming to. Daniel Bellinger trained in Nashville because he'd been a part of some tight end U camps and worked at Lipscomb a little bit. So there's Alante Taylor, obviously, from Manchester, Tennessee. So there's a lot of them have local connections that had been in Nashville, thought this would be the good fit for them, and things just worked out. And now all these guys are coming here to kind of help build a new era of Titans football.
Rhett, when we talk about positions of need, looking at this group, there's a lot of different positions that were addressed. How do you think that's going to help the Titans as they are trying to establish a foundation for this roster, and then, oh, by the way, have the draft on the horizon too?
So I was impressed, like Jim, of what Mike Borgonzi and Dave Ziegler and Reggie McKenzie and Chad Brinker have all been able to do in this window, because most of your needs or places where you had to have help was on the defense, and that's why this free agent class is heavy on that. And to Jim's point, from starters to backups to guys that'll play teams and help you in that phase. So between that and a couple of other moves that they made on offense, it sets up the scenario for that 3 days of the draft, as Coach Mack would say, for the draft to come to him, to come to Mike Borgonzi. He doesn't have to go a specific position group or need at pick number 4, or really the first 4 picks at 4, at 35, at 66, or 101. It depends on how you want to dice that up. It doesn't hurt you that in the places that some of the needs are the places of position that are rich in this draft. Like, I think you need to add another pass rusher in this draft. And it's a really good draft for that as far as the depth that goes into the middle rounds of this thing. So you could get if you don't take one at 4, you could get a really good one at 35 or 66. But that's the first thing that stood out to me, is that he set this up where the draft can come to the Titans.
Yeah, and I'm going to circle back because I've got a list of free agents, and then below that I've got my trade guys. There's so many guys that have been signed, you can lose track of somebody. But obviously I should have mentioned Jermaine Johnson in that first intro talking about this group, because he's one of the biggest prizes this team got this offseason. They got him via trade, obviously, sending Tavondre Sweat to the Jets in exchange for Johnson. And Johnson is another guy who was actually looking to move to Nashville, and just so happened that he got traded for DeAndre Hopkins, the former Titans, one of the first guys that reached out to him, put him in touch with the real estate agent, and certainly he's on his way. And I do agree with Rhett. I mean, Jermaine Johnson gives you a veteran edge rusher, but it doesn't necessarily close the door on that position necessarily. So I think everything's still in play. Obviously, Jeremiah Love has become a very popular pick for the Titans in mock drafts. I did my most recent mock draft roundup this week. 13 of the 20 had the Titans taking Love. But there's some edge rushing guys in there too. I know this team is looking, and I still think everything's in play because of what's happened and because of what you're trying to build long-term, not necessarily for 2026.
Are there players that were signed to this Titans team in free agency that you are the most excited about, whether it's just because of who they are and the type of person they are, or what they're able to do on the field and how that'll really fit in with this team?
So I would stay with Jermaine Johnson for a moment, just because in looking at him when he came out of Florida State his draft year, and again, there's another common thread with this is these guys, everybody earns their spot to get to this stuff, but some of them had some hard roads. And Jermaine Johnson, I mean, went to Independence Community College, then he went to Georgia and started at Georgia despite a log jam of talent and draft picks galore and national championship runs and those things, to transfer to Florida State to have a little different flavor of things, to see how he could help that in the ACC. And he was a big, long prospect coming out of Florida State. You're talking 6'5", 254, arms 34 inches, hands nearly 10 inches, 83-inch wingspan. That's the kind of edge pass rusher that this Robert Saleh defense is looking for. He rotates those guys out quite a bit. That's why we say there's probably room for another edge rusher, maybe two. But at 6'5", 254 at the combine, 4.58 in the 40, a 1.55 first 10, a 32-inch vertical leap, and a 10.5-foot broad jump at that size. Loves football, plays physical, deep-rooted in his family and his faith. That's the kind of, earmark that we're looking for. John Franklin Myers, same kind of guy. I'm excited about the two offensive players that played in Brian Daboll's offense. Wan'Dale Robinson, as Jim said, right up the road from Frankfort, Kentucky. 65% catch rate in 2025. 188 catches in his last 2 years. Probably his best year as a pro was 2025. 92 for 1,014 yards, 419 of those yards after the catch. So there's some explosion and moving chains. 622 of that 1,014 in the slot. He played in and out, but a lot of slot receiver, 4 touchdowns. Now, when you go, but Rhett, that's just 4 touchdowns.
Well, that's what I was going to say. But Rhett,
he
just
played with 3 different quarterbacks. It started with Russell Wilson, who they brought in as a free agent. Then the keys were turned over to Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart found his way into the blue tent on the medical tent on the sideline several times, to the point that at the end of the year, there was a famous Jameis Winston start there. So he did it with 3 different quarterbacks in that. And so I think about that production. 9.2 yards per catch in his career. He has 25 career receptions that are X plays at 25 yards or longer, moving the chains. The other overriding theme in this, Jim, is they have infused this roster with veterans, but veterans that are in their prime. Like guys 26, 27, 28, like that arc where you want them to be. And then Daniel Bellinger, the tight end, who also played in New York. Mac and I really like this guy coming out from San Diego State. One of the better blockers in that class, 6'5", 255, and around an 80% career catch rate. Doesn't get a target a lot, but he catches. He only has 3 career drops into 4 years he's there.
It's pretty good.
So let's start
strong
with that. And tested pretty well himself at 6'5", 255, 4.63 in the 40, 1.62 in the 10, 34.5-inch vertical leap. A 3-cone drill, just over 7 seconds, 4.7 short shuttle. Really good blocker, but sneaky good hands. Like he and Gunnar Helm provide you 2 large targets to go with the other receivers.
This worked out well because you left me the only guys you didn't talk about were the ones I was going to mention. So,
hit it, Jim.
Jimmy and I work good today.
Yeah. So you ask about who I'm looking forward to playing, and it's impossible to say one guy, but position group is what I'm looking at, and obviously the cornerback, position cupboard was very bare this offseason. It's crazy just how much change has happened there. L'Jarius Sneed gone. Roger McCreary was traded last offseason. Jarvis Brownlee traded. Like, it's pretty much going to be a new room. And you sign Cordell Flott, you sign Alante Taylor, you sign Joshua Williams. So that's a new group, and those are the guys that are going to be counted on to help you change the look of that position. don't count out Marcus Harris, who is going to be in the mix here. I thought he played well as a rookie, and there's still going to be some change there. But you're bringing Flott and Taylor in here to start, and I think Joshua Williams, again, one of these guys that that is here because of Mike Berganzi. He wasn't a full-time guy in Kansas City, but they think he's got potential to really help them, not only on special teams but in defense. Really a good kid. He's going to be in the mix. So that group has talked about wanting to help flip things here and change the mentality and the style of play here on defense in the secondary. And they're the guys I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how that plays out.
Secondary, I'm going to stay with that, Jim, because you mentioned Joshua Williams, and I remember looking at his stuff when he was in the draft process. Interesting story with this guy because he ended up playing in 75 games as a Kansas City Chief, 10 of those in the playoffs because obviously they went on a run, and but he's only 26 years old. This guy played at a Division II HBCU in Fayetteville, North Carolina, at Fayetteville State, and he was a wide receiver converted to a defensive back in high school, 3 years at Fayetteville State for the Broncos, 79 tackles, 21 pass breakups, 5 interceptions. And at the combine, now he was 4th round, and he was one of the handful of Division II guys that were invited to that year's combine. But at 6'3", 195, long prospect with nearly 33-inch arms, 9.5-inch hands, ran 4.53 in the 40, 1.54 in the 10, a 36-inch vertical leap, 10.4 broad. And now here's the thing. He only has one lone interception in his career, but he picked a heck of a time to do it, and that was with about 7 minutes left in the 2022 AFC Championship game. He picked off Joe Burrow. That helped, ended up sealing the 23-20 win over the Bengals after they were able to get downfield and Harrison Butker to kick a field goal in that. The other one I think is interesting is Tony Adams, who was brought in most recently, 27 years old, obviously had time there as a New York Jet. He was an undrafted free agent out of Illinois. Only 5'11", only 203. He did not get an invite to the combine, but at his pro day, those numbers would have stood up against a lot of the better prospects in this year's combine. 4.34 in the 40, 10.11 broad, nearly 11-foot broad, 41.5-inch vertical, 14 reps at 225, a 4.04 short shuttle in 20 yards. That vertical would have been top 15 at this year's combine. The 40 would have been top 10. And the short shuttle would have been the top score in that category. 53 games, 36 starts, 232 tackles, 4 interceptions, 16 pass breakups, 11 tackles for loss, started for 9 games in 2025.
Wow. Look at that. You guys are so good.
When you bring Hellman's Creamy Buffalo Chicken Dip to the watch party, you can cheer too loud, or block the TV, or be a couch coach, and no one will eject you from the game. That's a Hail Mayo. Hellman's, the official mayo of the Tennessee Titans. Hey Titans fans, with a Kroger Boost membership, you'll score big with double fuel points, free delivery, and lots more. Go to Kroger.com/boost for details. Kroger, the official grocer of the Tennessee Titans. Tighten up.
Founded in 1983 in the heart of downtown Nashville, Tennessee, Christie Cookie began as a humble storefront built on a simple belief that premium ingredients and timeless flavors are the key to truly gourmet cookies. Christie Cookie is honored to be able to share those same cookies and recipes with you and your family and friends. If you would like to gift some Christie Cookies to some of your loved ones, visit ChristieCookie.com today.
Little Caesars is the official pizza partner of your Tennessee Titans. Download the Little Caesars app and get your favorites delivered today. Delivery fees apply. Now back to the OTP.
Let's talk about how things work in the coming days and weeks here. So we've had the first big wave of free agency is behind us now. For the most part, the people who are going to be picked up by teams have been picked up by teams. There's maybe a little trickle here and there, a couple more names that you'll be hearing as time goes on. But for the most part, the mass hysteria of the Red Rover game across the NFL where everybody runs, finds a different team, and grabs on is behind us. The next major landmark is the draft. And we all know how important the draft is, not only for the Tennessee Titans, but for every team in the league. And it's extra big for the Titans, though, because so much of their whole persona, their philosophy when it comes to adding players and building this team is through the draft and develop. That's what we've heard time and time again. So my question, knowing that we have this first wave behind us, we know that some of the main players that they are hoping to rely on for years to come will be acquired in the draft. There is still the 2025 draft class who is part of this Titans roster who was very productive in their first year as a whole. As a class, they were asked to do a lot. But then there's this second wave of free agency that comes on the back end of the draft. And I say all of that to ask this question. Are there still positions on this roster that you think would be better suited for a veteran player as opposed to someone that you're going to draft? Are there still opportunities for the Titans to be adding veteran players in the second wave of free agency that comes after the draft?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, where that is, I think obviously still help is needed. Interior offensive line. I mean, I think you'll
right
look
guard.
at Austin Sloatman, who is signed as a center previously with the Giants. Cordell Volson played with the Bengals, was a starter for 3 years, but sat out last year because he had a shoulder issue. Neither one of those guys is going to be handed anything. And let's don't forget Jackson Slater's going to be in the mix, one of the guys from last year's draft class. But you're still going to have competition there. So I think more is going to be added. When exactly remains to be seen. Every time I think the team's about done signing players, they agree to somebody else. So the count is up to 17. One has not been announced as of the time we're doing this OTP, and then 2 more guys traded for. But I think what's interesting to me, and something I've certainly thought about, when this whole process started on March the 2nd, the roster count was 50, which was incredibly low. And now, as of March the 20th, can I say what date? When is this coming out?
Yeah, we're recording this on Monday, March 23rd.
23rd.
Yeah.
We've got one free agent who is reportedly signing. He's got to pass a physical. He's got to sign the contract. And if that does happen, that gets you up to 74. So 24 new players have been added. You have picked the 9 players in the draft. That's 83.
It's quick
my
math.
math is right.
That was good.
So, and trades could change that. Maybe you acquire an extra pick, then you go up a number. And it's a long way of saying is we've seen some years where the Titans have signed 18 to 20 undrafted free agents after the draft. That's not happening right now.
No, by that math, it's less than 10.
Yeah. So I still think there's some movement coming on the roster, additions and subtractions at some point. And who was a good fit on last year's scheme, maybe it's not a great fit now. And they've built the team up from a roster count standpoint where you have a little wiggle room where you can make some moves to sign other players. So I'm curious to see how it all plays out. Maybe you sign another guy or 2 before the draft, but I think the majority of it is see what you get in the draft. Then you potentially not only add a veteran or 2, but you also maybe part ways with some guys.
To Jim's point and to your question, I think NFL.com just over the weekend had, I think, 21 of the top 101 free agents still remaining to be signed.
Wow.
So, in other words, a lot of people in the other 31 teams are in the same kind of gear because when you get to this point, being a month out from the NFL draft, it's really more draft motivated now. It's always in the background. There's always tape to be watched. There's always a war room board that is fluctuating. But you still have an eye on this free agency part, but it's really in draft gear now.
Yeah, and based on what's happened across the league, I can't remember the last time I've seen so many trades during the offseason, and including
Been
2
19
here.
or 20
Yeah,
this
20.
early before the draft.
Yeah, and including 2. Titans got Jermaine Johnson via trade, got Solomon Thomas via trade. So, there potentially is a team that may have a player you're looking for, and some of these players I talk about maybe not being a great fit here, maybe they're a great fit somewhere else. So maybe you make a trade for players as well.
Well, Rhett mentioned being draft motivated, and we too are going to be draft motivated going forward here on the OTP because it's coming up. The draft is in what? Let me see. It's written down here. 31 days away from night 1 of the 2026 NFL draft. So we are a month out. And so we're going to talk about it for the next couple weeks. We are going to have some previews of every position. Let's talk about the guys that are going to be out there that are available that you could maybe see in this new Titans blue. And just have an idea of what is coming up. Our goal every year is to have you be the smartest person at whatever draft party you attend. We hope it's the Tennessee Titans one at Nissan Stadium. But wherever you are watching the draft, we want you to be the smartest person in the room, or at least feel like you are. So we're going to have those coming up for the next month in preparation of the NFL draft.
Should we tell them how they get to the draft party? It's at Nissan Stadium. Last one at current Nissan Stadium ever.
It is.
And that's Thursday night, April 26th. You can go to TennesseeTitans.com to claim your tickets there. No cost.
Free $99,
involved.
but you got to claim it. There you go.
Huh? Do what?
I said it's free $99, but you
That's what I thought you said. I was like, free $99.
Yeah,
What?
that's what it means. At $0. You don't pay for it. No money will be exchanged.
We
but
should
please
probably
claim your
tell
ticket.
the OT people also. I know we're going to have these positional looks as we get closer to the draft. Draft coverage on Titans Radio, Thursday night, the 23rd, 6 Central to 9 p.m. Central to cover the 4th pick, an hour leading up to that, and some things throughout. Night 2 will be right here in this room, covering a lot of rounds 2 and 3 from 6P to 9P, and then I'll do updates on the network at your affiliate station down the line from about 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the top and the bottom of every hour to see what they do in day 3.
You're holding it down for us on day
Let's
3.
go.
I'm throwing a 4-year-old's birthday party, so game on.
All right.
Priorities.
But
But I'll be tuned in to Rhett Bryan on
Priorities.
Titans Radio.
4th birthday for your
Fourth-
oldest child.
fourth
4th
birthday.
overall pick.
There you
coming
go.
up.
Big 4s. That's
Will it
gotta
be a
mean
guy that wore
something.
4 in college?
Oh, now we're getting spooky.
Yeah.
This
We'll
has
see.
to mean something. I don't know what the number 4 means, but I bet one of the OT people does, and they can tell me. There you go.
I will mention other things going on, just talking about stuff happening between now and the draft. Obviously, owners' meetings start this week. Robert
That's right.
Sala, Mike Berganzi, Burke Nihill, Chad Brinker, and pretty much everybody from the football staff or the front office staff will make that trip.
You headed down, Jimmy Wyatt?
We'll head down to Phoenix for that.
All right.
We have pro days that are going on now that has kept our scouting staff and front office on the move, and then these 30 visits are
Ramped
going
up.
on. Like you don't. Sometimes I'll see a guy pass me in the hallway and think, oh, it's interesting guy to be here in Nashville. So a lot of intrigue here with not only pick number 4, but throughout this draft, and all that's going on now as we get ready for April 23rd through 25th in Pittsburgh.
There is a lot of excitement here at the Vanderbilt Health Football Center. I got it, guys. We nailed it. All right, for Rhett Bryan and Jim Wyatt, I'm Amie Wells, thanking you for listening to the OTP. Stick with us throughout this upcoming month as we're headed towards the 2026 NFL Draft. There is so much to talk about, and we can't wait to share it with you.